Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
In 2005, a colleague of ours named Dennis shared the story of his type 1 diabetes diagnosis. 8 years later, that story saved our son's life. What we share tonight may someday save the life of someone you love. In December of 2013, we noticed Alex exhibiting one of the main symptoms Dennis spoke about. He was extremely thirsty. It was an unquenchable thirst. We took Alex to the doctor mostly as a precaution. We were sure that we were being paranoid. At the doctor's, a urine test was followed by a finger prick, and I could see it in the doctor's face before he even said a word. And I just thought to myself, please God, don't let him say it. Just don't let this be true. I can't fully describe to you what was going on in my mind over the next few days, but I mostly remember the fear. I also remember beating myself up. What did we do wrong, right? We promised to protect him, never let anything bad happen. We spent the next 2 days with the wonderful people at Connecticut Children's Medical Center, learning how to take care of our son. They deserve a round of applause. He was only 8 years old, and while most boys his age were learning about math, reading, and basketball, Alex was learning about finger pricks so that he could check his blood at least 6 times a day. He was learning about insulin dosing calculations and injections before each meal and at bedtime. He was learning about where to safely store used needles. He was learning how to be brave. It was surreal, yet he was amazing. It's okay, Mom, I can take it, it's okay. Those beautiful eyes looking at me, just so strong. Shortly after his diagnosis, Alex and I went out to lunch, and as I prepared his insulin shot, he commented that he couldn't wait for the injections to end. I explained to him that this was for life, and reality set in. He asked me to take him out to the car because he needed to scream. And there, in the parked car, as he screamed and pounded his fists into the back of the seat, all I could do was hold him. I couldn't stop this. My heart broke. And then he stopped and he looked at me, wiped off his face, and he looked at me with the most incredible look of determination and said, okay, let's do this. It's now 3.5 years later, and just when we think we've adjusted to the new normal, we're reminded that type 1 diabetes never quits. I can see it in Alex's eyes when his blood glucose is low and in his behavior when it's high. There are so many scary moments with type 1, you can never let your guard down. Last summer at the beach, Alex was going to swim to the raft with his friends. Before any activity, we follow the type 1 routine, and that day was no exception. Is his blood glucose high enough? Check. Insulin on board? Nope. Okay, Alex, go have fun. As he swam out, I saw him suddenly turn around and head back to shore. I saw his friend give him her tube. Odd, because he's such a good swimmer. I meet his eyes, and something is very wrong. I run to the water. He is wobbly. I grab him. I pull him out of the water. I sit him down on the beach. A crowd is gathering around us. I check his glucose. It's too low to register on his monitor. I give him juice, but he's so listless. I remember seeing Angelo running down the beach with more juice from the house and the emergency glucagon injection. It took 20 minutes for Alex to come back, but it felt like hours. He regains his strength, and he goes to sit with his friends who are now scared and worried, and he goes to reassure them that he is okay. I sit back in my chair, and I'm shaking. Behind my sunglasses, tears pour down my face. My mind is racing with thoughts of what could have just happened. I cry for Alex, for me, for Angelo. I cry for everyone with type 1 and everyone who loves them. I thank God for once again sparing my child, and I pray for his continued protection.
Type 1 diabetes impacts every facet of life, from physical to emotional to social. It can be very isolating. We found ourselves on an island. When friends came to visit, they were shocked by the ongoing tracking, dosing, and checking that takes place throughout the day. I remember back to that first summer. We had a bunch of folks over for a party at the beach. After eating, we spoke with Alex about dessert and his plans, how much running and biking he would be doing, how far he would be from home. Was there a safe house nearby? Someone who stocked juice for Alex along the way. We looked up and everyone at the table was silent and staring at us. One friend asked, "You do this all the time?" "Yep, all day, every day." Another time a friend stayed over, and that next morning the inevitable question, "Did I hear you get up a bunch of times last night?" Yeah, Alex was running so low that we had to keep checking him to get his glucose numbers up. This happens most nights. Type 1 diabetes is not pleasant. We have no choice but to fight for a cure. We will raise money and shake everyone down that comes into our lives and make them see that investing in our child, and all of you in this room who have type 1, is worth it. We choose to support organizations like JDRF who help make living with type 1 just a little bit easier. Alex's diagnosis marked the ending of our old life and the beginning of a new one. Our life is different now, but we're surrounded by good people like you, and we are full of love and appreciation. Now, I'd like you to hear from Alex himself, our little man, our warrior who will share his thoughts on life with type 1 from his perspective.
Let's do this. Sometimes I feel like I'm so much older than I am. I worry about things, like what will it be like to be away from my parents when I go to college? And what about my kids? I want to be the kind of dad my dad is, but what if my kids get scared when I go low? Or what if I get cranky and yell at them when I go high? I worry about that happening now. I moved to a new town in 2014 and it was really hard. I wanted other kids to like me, but I was always at the nurse's office. Everyone knew something was wrong with me, but they didn't know what. Some kids got mad because I could leave the room when I needed. They didn't know that I was leaving to prick my finger to draw blood so I could test my blood sugar. When I got diagnosed, I had to go to CCMC, and I met with the nicest people. They were all very smiley, and they talked about carbs and food and finger pricks and needles. And my parents seemed really sad, or maybe even scared. It was confusing. Then they handed my mom a needle and told her to jab it into my leg, but she knew it was my biggest fear, needles. And now they wanted my mom to give me a shot? I had to be strong, so I told her it was okay. For some reason, I thought the needles and stuff were just for 2 weeks. I figured I could get through that. But then my mom told me it was for the rest of my life. At that moment, everything changed. My life shifted and nothing was the same. Sometimes I hear people complaining about silly things, and I think, you are so lucky. You can eat food and play and have fun and not worry about your blood sugar, insulin, or beeping pods or Dexcom alarms. Do you have any idea how lucky you are? I would give anything to go back to my normal life. I sure would like a cure. Raising money is pretty much all I could do to get closer to a cure. I mean, I'm 12. I've had lemonade stands, I've sold donuts, I have a JDRF walk team called Alex's Avengers, and now I'm up on the stage asking for help. All of you in this room have the power to help cure this disease. It's actually pretty awesome when you think about it. Someday you could say, I helped cure type 1 diabetes, and I'll be able to say, because of some amazing and generous people, I used to have type 1 diabetes. Please help us cure this disease.